Hey everybody, Bedbug Guy is here on this beautiful Wednesday morning, the day before my birthday. And I wanted to do another video about this Khafre pyramid underground structures deal that is taken the internet by fire. And specifically, I want to discuss a few red flags that have jumped out to me. Now, I don't think the conference was a hoax. There's a couple people that were involved who would their careers would be ended if this was a hoax, and none of them have said it was. I'm going to link to that YouTube video down in the description. I hope you can speak Italian, because I can't get the English subtitles on it, but you can kind of glean from it what's going on. So, what do we know so far? In a nutshell, this team uses synthetic aperture radar tomography from a satellite scanning around the Khafre pyramid and have discovered large underground structures underneath the Khafre pyramid, possibly extending down 2 kilometers. Okay? Now, a lot of this coming out that this is somehow fake news, and that starts with Dr. Hawass, which let me break down what his statement tells us. Okay? So real quick, he just says, all this information is completely wrong and has absolutely no scientific basis. In addition, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquity did not give permission to any individuals or institutions to work inside or outside the second pyramid. In addition, the claim that a radar was used inside the pyramid is false. True, they didn't set foot in the pyramid. They did it by satellite. But the next sentence is actually the telling part that I want to get into. It says, these people who announce this wrong information, they use techniques that are not approved nor validated. The details announced would never have been seen by using this technique. So, what is the statement actually saying? What it's saying is these people didn't notify the ministry that they were doing this scan. They didn't submit a proposal and get approval to do this scan, and they did not present their findings to the ministry. These three are cardinal sins in Egypt, and this is our first red flag that the team really needs to answer for, because it's created a whole big set of problems. Why did they not follow protocol? By not following protocol, first thing that happens is these people will never be allowed to work in Egypt again, ever. And if you don't think Egypt would do that, ask Robert Boval. Secondly, in their perception, this never happened because they didn't follow protocol, which means nobody will be able to submit a proposal to investigate this, citing this scan to the ministry. Okay, so this is never going to be looked into. And the problem that stems from that is now the conspiracy theorists are going to flame up, which they already have, and cry cover up or suppression or whatnot. Look, Egypt, despite what you hear from people like Graham Hancock or anybody like that, the nation of Egypt would not suppress a fantastical discovery. Okay? People don't realize that the basis of Egypt's economy is tourism. That's why you see every little discovery is making the national news, international news. They want people to come to Egypt. The Arab Spring and COVID killed tourism in Egypt. So any little discovery, no matter what it is touted worldwide, all over the news. They want people to come see it. Realistically, if these people found an extraterrestrial spacecraft under one of the pyramids, they would announce it from the mountaintops. Trust me. They would know that people would come and pay through the nose to see it. Now, that's not to say that the ministry doesn't suppress things, but how they do it and what they suppress is not really that big of a deal. What they generally will suppress is any conclusion that the Israelites ruled Egypt at any time in the past. Now, if you find that evidence, you can publish it but you just can't publish the conclusion that was. So if you look at Manfred Bitek's work at Avaris, he's clearly found evidence that Joseph ruled Egypt in Avaris, but he doesn't publish that conclusion. He publishes the evidence and what the royal seals say, but he doesn't say, hey, this is Joseph's seal. Okay? So that's not how they suppress things. All right? So that's what they really need to answer that, because by just going public like this, they've created this giant series of problems and controversy. Okay, so next let's talk about the technology that they use, and that's synthetic aperture radar tomography from a satellite about 420 miles up. Okay, and we've heard this all around, that the technology is not capable of doing this. All right. And recently I did see a news article who cites Professor Lawrence Conyers, who is a radar expert at the University of Denver, who actually works in archaeology, said that the technology used couldn't penetrate the ground in the way they claim. So I did look into it, and you look at what is synthetic aperture radar tomography used for, and it's to create high resolution topographical images. Okay. And it can see through clouds and vegetation, all that, better than LiDAR can. But from a satellite, it can't really see underground. And that's the problem that all these scientists and specialists are having, that it can't really do that. You can use it on the ground, but apparently the resolution on it, if you use it on the ground, is only 15 meters at most. And they're making a claim that it goes down 2 kilometers. Okay. But they clearly said they did it from a satellite. So, but what it can do from the satellite is it's so high resolution, it can detect little changes in the topography, which can indicate underground structures. Okay. But as far as what they are and how far down they go, shouldn't really be possible. So that's just something the team's going to have to answer for. Supposedly they're putting the data out for peer review. We'll wait for that. Now, here's the other red flag that I have, and that's the press conference that was done last Saturday. And it was who gave that press conference. Now, so the first person we have is Filippo Biondi. He's a PhD and signal processing researcher. So this is the guy where if this was a hoax, he would lose his career. This is why I don't think this is a hoax. Okay? But let's look at the other 2 people that there. You have Armando Mai, don't know Italian. He's an author, and if you look at the books he's published, he's like an Italian Graham Hancock. Okay? So he's kind of an alternative researcher. He also works at one of the universities, but he's on board with the alternative history. So he would be primed to present this and believe that. The other person is Corrado Malanga. He's a PhD at a university. But what he is a UFO researcher. Okay? And author. Mostly about UFOs. You can look him up online. That's also a red flag for me. So they need to answer why there's only one real scientist on this panel. That it seems like it's more like an episode of Ancient Aliens in this press conference than a scientific deal. But right now, I'm going to reserve my opinion on whether this is real or not. I tried reading the information about the synthetic aperture radar tomography. You need to be an engineer to understand it. So if these guys have found a way to see underground with it, then that data needs to go out to the scientists for review. Apparently that's happening. When we hear back on that, I'll see what it is, whether or not this is real or not. But I just encourage everybody to kind of step back and go, let's not throw 10 million posts around Facebook saying that this is some power plant structure, and we don't know. Okay, it's all speculation. The people who have presented this are the type of people who would say that. So let's back up and wait and see what the specialists actually can see in the data. Anyway, thanks. I appreciate you stopping by. Give me a subscribe if you would, please. My subscribe button is feeling very, very lonely these days. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.